inner peace, emotional resilience, and 8 psychological strategies to protect yourself. Discover today why your sister-in-law, or that acquaintance seems to. Always calm, he seems to have everything under control. Are you aware of his secret? He's not bigger than. It's not like I'm naturally calm. Problem is that working with clever people like you for 30 years has taught me something. Regarding the question, the end of the film will disclose what makes them immune. Perplexity, psychological coercion, and other self-induced storms. Moving. However, before anything happened, I have a favor to ask of you. Press the button below. We'll discuss a topic that will change your life. So subscribe. Leave a remark if you've ever felt influenced by others' actions. Are they doing it? Listen, illustrious audience, I've been watching. I imagine a bunch of exceptional women with unique issues approaching my office. Their status rose too. They absorbed many emotions. That was their universe. Starting with their grouchy husband in the morning, their day would be destroyed. Their mother-in-law's one harsh comment caused weeks of self-pity. A co-worker's attitude made them doubt themselves. Most odd about this circumstance is that these ladies managed teams, solved difficult problems, had great kids, and kept residences running smoothly. They became, when protecting their mental health, vulnerable as 5-year-old girls. Let me tell you about Carmen. 3 years after visiting my office, a patient is a master's degree holder, mother of 2 teens, and textile firm CEO. A woman in business administration made judgments that affected 200 people daily, yet it turned out she was emotionally unstable because her husband started showing up upon returning from work. He would be foul and lash out at her. Carmen would tell me, "Walter, I don't understand how I can." The admission was, as a business owner, I find it difficult to be emotionally affected by my husband's comments. Above all, a strong emotional core is unrelated to intelligence or realizing your mental health is not dependent on external events can make you stronger, does not constitute philosophy. It is a product of outside events beyond your control. Your brain responds to simple, cheap neuroscience. The problem is that it sees non-threats as challenges. Your amygdala lover, boss's abruptness, closest friend's stillness after a fight. Your primitive brain region fires suddenly. Interesting is that emotionally resilient people have mastered internal security. Breach this mechanism using cognitive filters. Like a mental customs office that checks every emotional indication. She sorts through everything and decides what stays and what goes in. The nice stuff. We've trained these filters, which is good. I've used this strategy in cognitive behavioral therapy for decades. The only difference is neuroplasticity has revealed its mechanism, the first psychological key to managing tough emotions. When you react differently to a situation, you vary your brain's emotional processing. It may have annoyed you, but you're opening new brain connections or pathways. New in a forest. Paths are difficult at first, but they get simpler with repetition. Streets. And your new reaction will become automatic. Pilar, a high school teacher exhausted from dealing with parents, visited me. I'll never forget her. He did. He told me that every time he spoke to the father of, as troubled kids awaited the confrontation, their worst days passed. She worried about what she said wrong as the room grew tense. Her emotional life was wrecked, leaving her miserable for days, obsessed with those 20-minute exchanges. My demonstration changed her perspective. I told her, "Pilar, imagine being a river rock. A water torrent may swallow you. It brings dead limbs, leaves, and trash, but you remain firm. Water has no effect on you. It evolves without touching or changing you. It merely passes." The allegory, she used it before every difficult circumstance because of its significant effect. She imagined herself as that rock. She kept her cool and let others' emotions wash over her. After 6 months, Pilar, she said the talks no longer scared her. Describe her development as detecting emotional disconnection. She was neither cold nor indifferent. Empathy and compassion were constants. She had learned to ignore other people's bad emotions. In addition, my excellent audience, I first want to share emotional detachment. Being intelligent does not mean isolating yourself or losing interest in the world. This means you become better at distinguishing your feelings from others. This means the ability to see and hear without taking in, to experience the present without losing your identity. Note this: a visitor arrives at, you bring mud home on your shoes and let it settle. Definitely not. When entering, respectfully ask them to take off their shoes or clean them off. That's exactly it. You must manage others' emotions. Someone with a heavy load arrives. Anger, resentment. It doesn't have to invade your private emotional zone and ruin everything. But use caution. Mastery takes time. Your brain has instinctively responded to it over time. Specific causes. Every time your mother-in-law says something provocative, whenever your supervisor is arrogant or your partner changes attitude, also activates the nervous system. A large red button on your chest makes you vulnerable. Change your mind. What neuroscientists must do to find a button is critical. They term it conscious emotional regulation. When you feel an outer force, since it's affecting you, you pause and take 3 deep breaths. Is the other person's emotion mine or theirs? Because, actually, when individuals are disrespectful, shout at you, or you are not her target for her criticism. Her words express her pain, frustration, and sorrow. Limitations. One of these women, Maria Jose, carried the weight of global challenges. She worked as an insurance company customer service agent. She made her day worse every time an angry customer contacted. My clinic patient complained of insomnia, anxiety, and generalized anxiety disorder. Due to caution, she was annoyed by everything. All of her effects hurt her. I presented a simple task. In every case, when someone was unkind to her during the day, she saw an invisible indication on their forehead. Someone said, "I'm suffering. That's why I'm talking to you like this." Protecting your ideas from negativity. The idea seemed ridiculous, yet she tried it. She informed me throughout the first week that the work was hard to remember. I learned it in 2 weeks and used it automatically by week 3. She told me, an angry client contacted, yelling and assaulting her over a situation beyond her control. Instead of being irritable, Maria Jose managed to see beyond inherited words. Seeing a man in despair, likely poor and unable to handle his wrath, not taking in his. She sympathized with his suffering. She calmly talked to him and offered choices to calm him down. In detail, his final phone words showed remorse and he appreciated her patience. For the first time, I understood Walter's name, Maria Jose. I was able to go over his anger, since it wasn't about me, to help him, and here was the key to emotional distance. No, it keeps you secure and boosts interaction skills by speeding up reactions, starting with comprehension rather than reaction. What I'll say, I found something that will change your mind after considerable research. People, the most similar people affect you the most, bring you the most stress, and are the hardest to handle. Avoid admitting this element of the narrative. Psychologists call it projection. If your coworker is always criticizing others and driving you crazy, it's probably you. You prefer ignoring self-criticism. The family member that never quits griping, even when you're exhausted. You think it shows your pessimism. You need not tolerate it. Doing harm or blaming yourself for everything. Not at all. In other terms, when something big affects you, you can improve. That experience teaches you. Self-awareness is key. Plus, if you understand and use it, no longer do you let circumstances govern you. A businesswoman named Isabel came to mind. An ongoing conflict between a business partner and a successful woman brought her to me. Walter said, "This woman drives me crazy. She's arrogant, doesn't consider other perspectives, and relentlessly pursues truth. Nighttime insomnia has been a problem." I asked him what was most frustrating about the social. My arrogancia was immediately addressed. The constant need to prove. She outsmarts me. My question stunned her. Is Isabel ever required to prove anything? Are you smarter than others? She pondered. He finally admitted to me that he had always doubted his intelligence, due to his unfinished academic education. To overcome that insecurity, He constantly wanted to show off. He socializes. For emotional survival, women learn that to feel respected, women needed. She might establish her superior intelligence. Isabel's realization improved her connection with her partner. When she realized she and her partner were fighting the same war, she stopped taking their opinions personally. Severe self-doubt. Now for the second secret. People who are. They are your best teachers because they show you where you need to improve. Take care of yourself. Clicking a button raises the question, why this? For what reason is this behavior getting me mad? Does it represent my shadow? June's shadow notion. Very nicely, they include all our hidden traits, qualities we accept or reject in others. However, those qualities appear to be permanent, profoundly affecting our emotions, and each of us. When irritated, we overreact. Imagine yourself as a lake for a moment. Very clear. Ripples from a stone in the water will disappear over time. Natural lake stillness is restored. But if the lake is full with sediment, emotions, no. Broken, unsalvageable. Each piece that falls removes a foundation and contaminates the water. The stone isn't. The issue, silt buildup, is the problem. The stronghold. Following sediment and scar healing, emotional healing might ensue, deep that move you and incorporate your hidden darkness. During the process, other people's stones can produce little waves on your surface. Oh no, you retain your essence. However, women in treatment often ask me about, Walter, please, can I remain emotionally untouched when my lover is sick? Because it is one of the hardest tasks. Keeping up with our daily companion's emotional intensity is difficult. Your concerned husband returns home. Work and the house stiffens. Your teen son is. On bad days, your family feels it. Your mom calls to say, their usual complaints will ruin your day. Permit me to relate. Something that completely changed my opinion. Accidentally found. Energy immunity is cultivated by emotionally resilient people. Same as previously. Your immune system fights bacteria and viruses. A protective emotional immune system can be built. I met 52-year-old Amparo, a 25-year married woman. Years with an erratic man. Sometimes he shows up. He alternated between being polite and loving and annoyed and criticizing. For years, Amparo's mood fluctuated with her husband's. It felt, I promised myself an emotional thermometer was always with me. If he was okay, I was okay. If he was unwell, I was unwell. His mood determined my mood alone. What I taught him changed his life forever. Decluttering is an art. Emotions are energy in motion. I add, when an eager friend arrives. Negative energy needs release. Furthermore, without clear energy restrictions, lightning instantly turns you into a lightning rod. Energy immunity development. However, bad energy bounces off and leaves. Immunity is formed how? The first step is accepting that others' feelings are not yours. Second, protecting your emotional center with energy. Additionally, planning. Detailed strategies to avoid stealing. I demonstrated Amparo a strategy one used with many patients. Before getting out of bed in the morning, she had to imagine herself in a golden light bubble. Hope, joy, and kindness can readily pass through the bubble, although unfazed by others' gloom. All day, forever. She returned any time her husband's energy affected her. Psychologically, building the shield seemed useless, but after practice, she saw significant changes within 2 weeks. Her spouse could. She showed him sympathy even when he was upset, but she didn't feel his pain, his pessimism. I could calmly hear him vent without internalizing his complaints. Worries. He could have her full attention without abandoning her wants. Most surprisingly, he saw Amparo's negativity as a good effect until she stopped absorbing it. By himself. Since he had nowhere to vent, he had to learn to manage his emotions alone. Got older. Their relationship improved greatly after they stopped being emotionally dependent on each other. They became emotionally independent and chose relationships. So I arrive at the third secret: your every emotion is your own. It may seem obvious, but most women assume responsibility for others' sentiments. Entire world. If their partner is unhappy, They feel guilty. They'd rather not. To inspire everyone, they must keep the family emotionally stable. But I want to be really clear. You're not in charge of global emotions. Avoid doing this. Get everyone involved. Feel no obligation to spare anyone's feelings. Without doubt, when others react rashly to life scenario, everyone over 18 pays for themselves. Emotions, self-control, and mental health. If you think taking care of others has exhausted and stressed you out, this prevents kids from managing their emotions. Think like this. Whenever your child, it's impossible for your child to learn to walk if you pick them up every time they fall. Yes, I understand. Emotions work identically. If you always save the day in emergencies, that person never learns emotional control. Mother Riso is someone I know. Walter arrived with 3 teens to greet me, exhausted. Maintaining the emotional stability of my children seems to be the center of my entire life, she said. If one is, when others are upset or scared, I feel the same way. If a third person, when he's upset, the house is in chaos, and I lose my senses, regardless of his mood. My children, I suggested anything that changed her mind. Being mom, I told her, Riso, the best gift for your kids is not. Instead than protecting kids from negative things, show them that it's okay to feel bad, for everything to be okay, for their anguish and wrath not to destroy the earth. We worried this would turn them into terrible, anxiety-ridden people. I want to be emotionally detached as a mother without being uncaring, being the kind of mom who can support her kids without taking on their sentiments and providing aid and understanding without managing the family's emotions. The change was astonishing. Riso stopped reacting strongly to her children's emotional difficulties. They learned to control their emotions and accepted grief. Briefly before restoring self-esteem, anger did not derail them. Their relationships, paradoxically learning to accept frustration, a psychologist's phrase. Emotional detachment lets loved ones be themselves, which is great. Chance to develop emotional resilience by showing them you trust them to handle it. You show them you don't see them as defenseless victims. Preservation, but please note this crucial point. Learning this doesn't mean you'll cease caring about others' sorrow. Comparison, emotional absorption versus empathy. Empathy means feeling what others feel without letting it dominate you. When you're overwhelmed by emotions, you absorb everything around you and become off balance. Boundaries distinguish emotionally strong people. They may say, I realize you're going through a tough time and I wish I could help, but I won't allow your troubles overtake me. They can be relied on without hesitation, weighted down by others' sufferings. They can listen without joining in when others are angry. Obsession with certain subjects. Let me tell you about Esperanza. Compassion fatigue drove her to my office, a social worker said. Her job involved collaborating. The situation was dire, affecting couples with marital abuse, severe poverty, and at-risk children. Control your mind and heart, of bringing the chaos home. She was uncontrollable. Her thoughts about their cases raced while she slept. Even my kids say I worry too much about others' kids. I chose, Walter said, I selected this field to make a difference, yet the misery of others overwhelms me. My answer to, how can I stay empathetic without emotionally destroying myself, is what I teach, 4 secrets to emotional strength. The 4th is what I detach. Compassion is the ability to feel deep empathy for another person without having it overtake you. Anguish, like a surgeon removing cancer cells from a patient, right? Genuine empathy for their suffering without taking on their anguish. I taught Esperanza a method that changed her life so much she couldn't work. Working method. After finishing each day, ritual for emotional detox. She fabricated how she absorbed all the difficult feelings. Days dragged like soiled clothing being gently removed. He thought. How he soothed Joseph's anger, elevated Carmen's despair, and finally, she felt wearing new clothes would symbolize her calmness, keeping her own emotional balance. This ritual initially appears to, though naive, he saved him. His detachment began after going home from work. Remarkably, he was able to support his family again, She maintained her career success via attention and concentration. Clients. Being emotionally detached makes you better, not less human. It lets you help customers. Starting with power instead of emotional collapse. You can help others from becoming victims of human suffering by being a beacon of stability. I've noticed this about everyone. The most emotionally strong people I've met, they view authority differently and understand it well. In contrast to those they cannot affect, they focus on the former. It falls under their jurisdiction. Most people are always annoyed because to affect a partner's emotions is unreasonable and uncontrollable. They want to control how people see them and their adult children's choices. They want to govern history, future, climate, economy, politics, and the effort tires them. Emotionally strong people accept something basic. Only you can totally manage yourself, and even that is restricted, limited. Your ideas are uncontrollable, but you can choose which ones to think about. Though feelings are uncontrollable, your response is. You can control your emotions and how you react to them, not your life. View on such topics. I met Paloma, a multinational conglomerate executive she got stress ulcers trying to control things outside her control. She worried about the changes in the workplace and the decisions her boss would have to make the next day as she slept. Policy of the organization. She worried about the market and her personal life. My suggestion was simple, yet she was held hostage by outside influences. Radical. He had to gather 3 data sets. The first set includes all objects that stressed her. The second list includes all. Which issues could she fully control in the third set? Give some input, but not full control? Anything not on the second or third list has to be removed. The result was surprising. Of all her stressors, she could just. Taking over 5% could influence 15% and 80%. He spent 80% of his mental energy on something out of his control, which Paloma could not control. When she focused on her controllables, managing or swaying reduced stress, and she was able to focus more on work and increase productivity. The critical options. Efficiency increased and perspective increased. He recovered from ulcers and mental illness. This agency focus is the fifth. Strong physiological foundation for emotional force. You have limited brain power. Decision fatigue in neuroscience occurs daily. Whenever your mind are preoccupied with other factors, making it hard to concentrate, so you can control. Manjar on telefono mobile con bateria gastandos n. Terminate hidden background apps. You suddenly have more battery life. You also have mental energy and emotive, but I'll offer something I've noticed over the years about this trend, especially among women. Their worries go beyond their control and include topics like kids, parents, significant others, cousins, friends. Panicked about his co-workers, the world, and humanity's fate. It worries about them constantly. Worry matters. Always worrying about someone isn't love. It's fear disguised as concern. You're hurting him by spreading mistrust and fear. You subconsciously tell her you don't trust her to manage her own affairs. Trinidad, a concerned woman whose 3 adult children kept her awake at night because she worried about her eldest daughter's career and love life. Perdia su sueño de bailo preocuparse con los problemas económicos de su hijo menor y mediano. However, Walter said, I differentiate between being available and worrying, stating, I'm their mother. How could I not worry? Generate concern. If you're available, your kids will know they can. They seek you out for support, guidance, or just listening. Worrying means, for some reason, you keep thinking bad things are coming. They won't happen. I told Trinidad that constant concern for her children is like ignoring them. You're diminishing their potential by doubting their ability to handle the life. I told her focus on something more important. Critical feedback resistance methods. Embracing faith. When she worried about any of her, stopping myself from thinking about the worst things that could happen to my kids was crucial. Imagine him boldly overcoming his challenges instead of. A lot of trust and terror had to be sent to him. Small yet game-changing. Trinidad showed me something astonishing 3 months later. She finally had peace of mind since her children were making better choices for her. In command, it was as if ceasing to blame them for their problems meant their emotional development may have been aided, and they sought her help when needed, to her easily, knowing she would provide presence rather than drama or worry, wisdom and tranquility. The sixth secret, which I will share, may come from I have more groundbreaking facts to give. An emotionally strong person has adapted to the I'll try to describe something's perspectival significance. Sorry if this seems trite. Neurological. Even though your brain is in 2024, when you linger on mistakes, you could be in 1987 or 2030. Historical periods. Your brain reacts as if they were happening now. Future calamity fears produce the same stress hormones as. What if those tragedies happen right now? Your living condition becomes a mess. Unresolved anxiety about past or future events. As your immune system decreases, your neurological system is constantly on alert, and your your mental clarity and emotional wellness plummet. I met Mercedes, a 48-year-old accountant with acute restlessness. She always went to bed. She created a nightmare machine in her thoughts. Imagine if her employer did this. If her spouse left her, would she be okay? Could her parents? What would happen if they received a terminal diagnosis? Would they accept their kids' poor job prospects? She has plenty of time. She imagined horrific scenarios. Walter told me, I understand that all of that is just thoughts, but I feel like my body doesn't know. My heart races, hands sweat, and belly hurts. That was the key. It seemed like all those terrible things were happening to you. Essentially, the body cannot discriminate between real threat and imagined danger. To your primitive nervous system, following a pursuer, like being chased in real life, your amygdala transmits the same signals. He saw that the hypothalamus releases the same stress hormones, and your heart rate rises similarly. Mercedes, something that changed her nighttime feelings. My thoughts were drifting into scary futures, so I needed to anchor them. I was asked to name 5 sensory inventory items that were current, visuals for tactiles, and 3 intangibles in her bedroom, that his ears, nose, and taste senses could detect. By executing that simple chore, his brain turned off automatic pilot, predicting problems and adopting existing views. Mindfully connecting to her, while navigating dreadful possibilities, was impossible. A sudden rush of sensations calmed her body and thoughts. Mercedes has to do more than just the right things to rest. I informed him that living in the moment is different from being reckless or indifferent about the future. To plan, one must distinguish paralyzing worry from effective planning. Since it's productive, I'll edit my resume and explore other options. Relevant to my job. Perhaps my worst nightmare is not knowing what to do. If I lose my job, I won't be able to pay the mortgage and my children will suffer. The former will lead to positive action, whereas the latter will lead to my spouse will blame me. It will be dreadful. One paralyzes you emotionally, the other weakens you. One binds you to, the other one relates you to your inability to overcome adversity. Emotionally resilient people have trained their brains to that we can stick to our productive objectives and escape when they think about the future, their paralyzing worry keeps them from acting. I welcome any constructive critique at this time. I dismiss the concept and return to the present, although several of my patients have asked me about it. Walter, what should I do about past events that still upset me? They affect memory, which is interesting in psychology and neuroscience. Nostalgic memories, tragic events, excruciating pain often keeps you in a primordial condition, should be fully processed. It's like your subconscious was replaying those occurrences. When something in the present triggers those memories, your body acts as if it happened again. It happened, and Soledad, a 55-year-old woman, visited me, enduring childhood trauma into adulthood. Her father had. He appeared and disappeared without a trace. Soledad responded to any sign 47 years after learning about him. Like that youngster, she would feel rejected or left behind if her spouse was late for work. When she thought her pals weren't answering her texts promptly, she'd panic and assume she'd disapprove when someone canceled a date, thinking they didn't want to see her. Walter, my husband won't leave me. she said. I know my friends love me, but someone may cancel a date for 1,000 ridiculous reasons. Even though he wanted to see me, my neglected body was acting like I was dying. He was right. It was stronger than I was. That wound hadn't been processed and integrated, making it stronger than his rationale. He was still attached to his primordial self and lacked rationality, maintaining composure in difficult situations. As an 8-year-old girl afraid of being left behind, we worked hard. Using the past was not about minimizing the present. I wanted to show that hurt little girl that she wasn't 8 years old, had options, and couldn't depend on others. Despite such delay, the surgery was successful. For Soledad, prior pain and projections were differentiated throughout time. Despite her anguish, she learned to recognize when her wounded inner child ruled her reactions. Her life experience helped her become emotionally educated and calm. Secret: accepting and letting go of one's past builds emotional resilience. That doesn't mean you should ignore the past or forget your hurt. It requires processing. Integrating your prior experiences stops them from influencing your current. Many women, unexamined childhood wounds shape their reactions. Family tragedy, unresolved anguish over a death, and past treachery. Without healing, such wounds will become weak places. Any situation can trigger it. You cannot integrate your past alone. Force will require self-compassion and patience. During recovery, it's normal to seek professional help. You'll feel an emotional release you never thought imaginable when you do it. Can you imagine a world without it? Imagine being constantly controlled by past hurts. That you can face today's difficulties with adult understanding rather than childhood trauma. Imagine being free of yesterday's emotions and tapping into your inner strength. Maintain emotional distance. Now, for the 8th and final secret, possibly the greatest, let's top dog among them. Another interaction exists between emotionally strong people and they don't dwell on failure, don't exacerbate problems, and they experience an overwhelming connection, which they believe is human nature, important to communicate. Most people handle suffering complexly. It either drowns them or overwhelms them emotionally, leading them to make life decisions assuming they won't feel bad, letting it define them, or resisting it to make it more evident. Emotionally resilient people discovered something revolutionary. Emotional suffering, like physical pain, is necessary and good. It's a warning that something needs attention when your hand hurts after touching something hot. Avoid touching the fire with your bare hand. Emotional pain indicates a problem. It needs cleaning, processing, or restoration. I encountered the Immaculata. Despite her psychology expertise, this woman was scared of emotional anguish years after she started helping. It was difficult for others to face their emotions, but when it came to their own, they did all necessary. Her method was to avoid tough situations and keep her ties on the surface to protect her heart. She avoided nervousness by being busy, so she wouldn't feel lonely or sad. I understand that difficult feelings are common, vital, yet I'd panic when I feel powerful emotions. I think anxiety and deep despair will shatter me forever. I get crazy over it, like being lonely means I'm sick. My advice impacted his emotional management, and he was furious. Despite their strength, they are transient. Emotion, however, lasts. Even the deepest sadness will pass. Even your worst worry will fade, but your isolation will grow. Time passes and overwhelming sensations vanish. Resistance to emotions is the problem. Repressing, rejecting, or categorizing feelings as unpleasant or harmful. When you really identify with transitory emotions, it ends. Anytime needless pain happens. I showed Immaculata an approach I use with many patients. Being a kind observer when facing difficult emotions. To relate to her struggles, I'm a sad person or I'm an anxious person. You show real interest in her. Compassionate. I feel sad. Anxiety is entering my system, a small but significant alteration. Liberating. Putting yourself in someone else's shoes lets you feel their emotion. You watch her while maintaining your identity. Immaculata, you feel emotion freely after a few weeks of practice. Something she never expected happened. She felt intense emotions other than those. She was not characterized by her emotions. She might feel sad without being upset, Sad people may endure anxiety without realizing it. When one stops suppressing their emotions, emotional resilience shines. No matter how difficult, they will lose control once you realize that. When you realize the cause of your anguish, you'll no longer feel it. Emotions are temporary rather than permanent. They can come in, say what they want, and leave. It indicates that when life throws you problems, don't become a masochist or desire pain. You're human and don't waste energy. Therefore, you'll face challenges. I remember resisting the inevitable to feel sorrow without resistance. Milagros, a businesswoman who lost her mother, visited me 6 months later. She felt terrible for feeling sad after the death. Walter says, I should be better by now. I should be over this before now. My friends say I should keep going since my mom wouldn't approve of my situation. But some mornings I wake up and she said, I feel like I just found out he died. I informed her that our optimistic society, you adore your mother, but toxic people don't comprehend grief. Focus on essentials and ignore superficialities. Since she died, that love has turned into wonderful melancholy for her absence. I told her it's the cost of deep love, not miracles. Your grief over your mother must be overcome and endured gracefully. Choosing is unnecessary in the spirit of thanksgiving, joy, and love for life. We worked on a project that changed her view of the line between accepting misery and living fully. Grief. Instead of battling melancholy, she learned to embrace it. Journeys motivated by her love for her mom. In a sea of misery, she would say, she confessed, my mother is talking, my darling. She deserves some privacy for a moment. Grieving, remember your mother, cry. Carefully achieved, the result was amazing. She finally allowed herself to be unhappy without losing her energy, mourning her mother and enjoying her gift. She was sad to say goodbye, but happy to remember the good times they had together, with love rather than anguish. Now for the therapeutic epiphany I promised. Those who seem unfazed by strife, they have not isolated themselves from their emotions. Rather, they have how to feel deep emotions without getting caught up in details. They know you can suffer without giving in. Terror can be felt without paralysis, wrath without destruction, and grief, loneliness, and emotional strength don't require suppression. Feel entirely without letting feelings take over one's personality. These ladies have done that. The insight that you are not your feelings, but the awareness that experiences them changed my outlook. Not your ideas, but your awareness of them. Realizing that you are the awareness that reacts to those characteristics. Experience, not theory, shapes identity. Almost continuous. Ideal circumstances are unnecessary. You don't always need others' approval to feel well. You no longer need others to validate your worth or control your environment. When you feel safe, your mental health stops relying on external variables, since you know yourself outside your positions and experiences. Though your feelings change, you are the stable soul that can weather the storm without being swept away. This is applied psychology, not theoretical religion. Neuroimaging studies have shown throughout the last few decades that regular self-aware mental state observers add brain tissue to the cerebral cortex, areas involved in emotional regulation, and lower amygdala activation. With regular meditation, attentiveness training, and the capacity to notice by connecting your ideas and feelings to your identity, you restore your brain's neural networks that stabilize emotions are strengthening, while those that generate instability are weakening. I want you to do something with me now using circuits that keep you reactive. Choose the one that spoke to you most and follow it for 7 days while seeing this video. Maybe it's wise emotional distance. Maybe it's focusing on what you can control. Note your feelings without getting caught up in them. Choose one and work on it. Watch your mental condition for a week after incorporating. Retain this fresh perspective regularly. Then tell me what. Share your discovery and how you made it so another woman can find it. Listen to start your emotional strength journey. You should subscribe to this channel because I post practical skills every week to help you love yourself more. Before anything else, you deserve to love yourself. If you like this video, please share it with a friend. Emotional strength affects all elements of your life, so pay attention to it, connections, and gradually alters your surroundings. Until next week, dear viewer, remember that no outside influence can disrupt your inner serenity, but let me offer some advice before you leave. Over 30 years of clinical practice, I've noticed a trend among successful women to control their emotions regardless of circumstances. This pattern does not indicate a problem-free or perfect life. Contrary to common opinion, women lose loved ones in divorces. They have endured betrayal, troubled children, and they've survived health crises and economic downturns. But their thinking makes them distinct. They become emotional treasure instead of wounds. That constrains them. Vertudes came to my office 5 years ago in 18 months, he lost everything that would have killed others. Her mother died of cancer after her husband left her for a 20-year-old. Because her teen son was abusing drugs, she had to close the family business due to the recession. I expected her to be a broken, disgruntled woman, possibly even I encountered a woman who was clearly hurting, but neither despondent or furious. While conversing, Walter said, "A calmness and clarity of mind that amazed me. I'm here for my first session to allow myself time to process. I'd like to do this without jeopardizing my health. I don't want these life obstacles to affect me, surpass my inner essence." Through our collaboration, I discovered Vertudes had, using emotional alchemy to substitute, more difficulty developing empathy, resilience, and insight, creating an unbreakable mindset. She told me about every horrific incident that happened to her. My mother's death taught me more than any other event. My husband's deceit taught me that my value is independent of hope my name will be chosen. My son's problems taught me that I can't control others' choices. Yes, I choose my reaction to those decisions. The business failure taught me a lot about myself. It goes beyond my career. Virtues discovered a secret, unlike other individuals. Life's worst events can be educational. Connecting with them is amazing. Being appreciative for the hardship wasn't. This perspective changed everything for me since it focuses on learning from hardship. Medical treatment. I taught my patients how to handle emotional crises and got them to their treasure, the means to overcome emotional reliance after abandonment, and a formula for converting treachery into trust. Wisdom, the ability to turn grief into gratitude for what's left, is vital. True emotional strength comes from fighting difficulty, not avoiding it. Those people are. The ability to rationally withstand misfortune is their strength. They can now understand what happened and employ what they learned. Muscles that never bleed. Muscles develop stronger with resistance or without weight training. Their mass decreases over time, but lifting too much weight at once might cause harm. Resistance is key. Slowly enough to strengthen the muscle without harm. Your emotional fortitude does the same. The key difference is that it grows in response to adversity, but can be damaged if overwhelmed. To succeed, you must see problems as challenges that must be overcome. Trying to find joy wastes your energy. Instead, use these trials to improve. I remember Esperanza, a 60s woman. Her marriage was psychologically and emotionally taxing for years. Instead of grieving, she came to see me too. He gained as much experience as possible. As my friend Walter cautioned me, I hate to waste time. I've spent 35 years trying to figure out why I made that deal. I want those years of misery to shape my conduct. What warning signs did I miss? Something. Additionally, emotional numbness occurred. We spent months on it, using all the wisdom her unhappy marriage offered. She learned about low self-esteem, emotional duplicity, and emotional manipulation. Due to her low self-esteem, she learned to set boundaries after enduring the intolerable. She admitted her tendency to reskers rather than for self-care. Within 2 years, Esperanza had rebuilt her life. He had a strong social circle, a thriving side business, and it allowed her to start over financially, and she started dating a man who treated her with dignity. I was properly punished. Walter said, "Never thought to say this, but I'm grateful for surviving those dreadful years. They showed me bad individuals and things I won't tolerate. I wouldn't have inherited the My strength is very important. Esperanza was not grateful for mistreatment. She used suffering, grateful for the trauma-induced insight, to build a stronger, more enlightened self-image. Our culture ignores or downplays negative feelings and experiences. Everything happens for a reason, and exaggerating it may become her identity. I am a survivor. Unfortunate person. These tactics won't give you freedom. Emotional alchemy requires seeing suffering. Directly, really experience it, think about it honestly, and then ask, how can I improve personally in relationships and via this experience? The procedure is dynamic, not helplessness, empowerment. Let me give you a specific example. Imagine your best buddy betrays you by revealing a personal detail. You trust him. Denial tactics include, oh, screw that. He didn't do it with malevolent intent. I can never trust anyone again. I use self-talk like, this hurts so much that I let myself to achieve emotional alchemy. That pain. Also, what am I learning about the significance of differentiating from this? Deep confidence and casual confidence. Do you see the difference? Although you don't want to stay, you acknowledge the pain. Permanently injured. Wisdom from living fully improves your ability to relate. Might try again. After 15 years, Conchita was laid off from her dream job. Fully committed. She came to my office feeling duped by life and the company. Walter, the company was his life. He informed me he worked nights, weekends, and missed vacations. Since I put work above health, my family would vote for me like I didn't exist. First, she emotionally separated, vowing never to work full-time again. Her inability to trust others, reasonable yet confining. Final remarks and a call to action. I gave Conchita a new perspective and told her this experience will impact her career. Horrible is teaching you crucial professional relationship lessons. It's about balance, the danger of relying on one item for identity. And, regardless of your location, keeping a professional network is crucial. Methodically collecting all of your lessons is our goal. Being offered commitment made him grasp the difference between rejection and commitment. Workplace addiction. He developed techniques to survive. He preserved his personal life by creating a professional approach independent of work. Devoted to one company. After 6 months, Conchita had acquired a higher paying, more flexible job and set tight boundaries on. If I hadn't been fired, probably, Walter said on my first day. That bad pattern persisted. I had to reconsider my relationship with him after their brutality. Working has greatly improved my position. This leads to my next point. I want you to understand that emotional alchemy does not justify others' bad behavior. They can harm you. The unpleasant boss that fired Conchita kept being cruel. The spouse who, abusive and deceived Esperanza.